Good day. My name is Brian R. Smith, and I'm a student at Full Sail University, and I'm going to take you through my World War I flying circus, where you fly for honor, for glory, for prestige, and you die and forget it all. It's a turn-based airplane combat kind of system, and it's asynchronous plot and simultaneous play, ingenious kind of game, and this is going to be the plan to actually have this game created. So let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen. Desktop is a fine thing to share and pull it right into here. So what I decided to do with this, it's maybe a tad bit unorthodox, but I've decided to have all the eggs in one basket, as it were, in terms of the design document, the project plan, requirements, putting everything into there. In fact, even the actual sprints and the execution of the project. So let me take you through that to kind of give you the method behind the madness, as it were. So here's a project plan, and this is just a big Garanimal view of the project plan as a Gantt chart. Really, it's following the origins of this was nothing based upon any kind of experience that I've had in the past, but the origin is really based upon the series of classes and the way that Full Sail has engineered the creation of this capstone project, which is the World War I Flying Circus. So let me take you through that. One of the things that was required by Professor Penny was a prototype of the game. So he just didn't want to read about how the game is going to work and its influence and its impact. He wanted to actually see a prototype of the game. So over the Christmas holiday, I actually created that. And I presented that to him, and he said, yes, this is a worthy project for your capstone project. So that's something that's already been done. So then there's a series of documents that are expected and required as part of the capstone project at Full Sail University. You can see I am completed with 3 of them. There still is this game proposal, which is really, I've integrated into the requirements some in this case, but this game proposal is really kind of more from a business point of view. And that will be finalized in the next class coming up here. So you can see this mobile gaming business. So the design, I'm again following some of the structure from Full Sail University. The requirements document is, you can see down here, I've been sharing this with you many times, so I'll just pop over to there. But this is where is the galactic center of very detailed requirements that I have for the World War I Flying Circus, things that I've been working on and creating, honestly, over the years. But now, with the structure as provided by Full Sail, I've been getting into more and more detail associated with with this. So that's a requirements tab. I'm not going to spend much time or any time really going through that, but that's what this requirements is here, and I've got it at 95%. Yeah, it's largely done, but even today, I had an idea for AI, for the artificial intelligence, the computer robot that you want to be flying against. And so I added some additional thoughts and ideas based upon that. So 95%, sure, at some point it will be done, but it's a living document, and honestly, it will never be done. So that's just kind of a key or indicator to me there. Team member assignments is something I've been working on recently. So I'm about 50% done with the members of the team that I want to have assigned to this. Mobile gaming business is the next class in Full Sail there, and it's during this time, of course, I'll be fleshing out some of the business side of this game, and indeed finishing up on this World War I game proposal there too. And then the next class in Full Sail University's Masters is the storyboarding and design, so do some additional work there. Then what I'm going to continue to do is in terms of development. So I've built this a capstone prototype, but I've been constantly modifying and adding to it, and I'm calling these proof of concepts. So previous to this, I just did a NLS, so a national language support or localization. When I used to work for a large multinational corporation, we called it MRI for some reason, machine readable interface. So it's basically, it's the text that needs to be translated into the world's languages, plus the localization of that, so that if some country it's miles and others it's meters or kilometers, so it's the localization effects. So I started playing with that and got localization working for my concept for the World War I Flying Circus. So fleshing out some big things, making sure that I can do the programming, not making it pretty, just making it it's functional. And in fact, I was just working on it just yesterday on the doing advertisements. So inline um, um, advertisements for the World War I Flying Circus, got that working inside the Unity kind of environment. And so I've got more work to be done in this area, but just kind of fleshing that out. And so these are different proofs of concepts, big things I need to get done. So I'm going to be working on that until kind of the end of May kind of time frame. Then I hope to take 2 weeks off for the summer, but I ain't going to be spending the whole time on the beach. My goal for that summer break is with this prototype and with a lot of this proof of concept, the code is, let's say, functional. The game plays, but it's not as pretty as I really want it to be. And as I was writing the code, I realized I was making some mistakes early on. And so what I want to do is do some refactoring with the code so that when I start going into the heads down kind of development in the August kind of time frame, that really the code is ready so that I can just start expanding and adding things into there in a very elegant sort of way. After that, back to the Full Sail capstone or the Masters in Mobile Gaming. There's a test month and there's a mobile gaming thesis month. And then I hope to release World War I Flying Circus to the world right before Christmas. So like any, I mean, so I used to work for a large multinational corporation for 31 years, 9 months and 2 days. And the beautiful thing about a project plan is it doesn't matter about the technology. It doesn't matter about the number of humans you have. It doesn't matter about what you're building and how you're building it, whether it's agile or waterfall or the V method. All these things are inconsequential. The beautiful thing about a project plan is that they always have a date to say, oh, we really need this thing on this time at this date because we're going to be selling something. We need to have the website up and running. So that's the beautiful thing. So my goal for World War I Flying Circus, again, independent of technology and Unity and all the different things that need to happen, and this silly thing like a master's degree in programming, in the mobile gaming design, is trying to get this ready for release around Christmas time. And again, it's an artificial date, of course, but that's the beautiful thing about project plans. They're based upon sometimes artificial things. So, but the goal is to get there and to use the structure to kind of manage my time and manage the expectations and to manage the volume of requirements and user stories, the volume that are in this for this first release of World War I Flying Circus, and to get that ready for Christmas time. Then in good old-fashioned agile or scrum kind of methodology is this feedback. In other words, then I want to gain the feedback from the customers, from the users of this, and then push those comments, push those suggestions, maybe the occasional bug, push the occasional bug fix back into the code, and then continually release the World War I Flying Circus over time. So that's the big picture view of the project plan, largely based upon the structure as provided by Full Sail University with the Mobile Gaming Masters. Okay, so the next thing I did is, again, kind of with this all the eggs in one basket, so put together a design document and specifically a project design document for Full Sail for the World War I Flying Circus. Let me take you through that. So here we are with the initial version. So a lot of this, like the soundbite, executive summary, these different things, these are things that we have all seen before. The genre, again, is turn-based, a tactical game with an ingenious asynchronous plot and simultaneous planning. I'm going to take you through some of the swim lanes for that later on in this same sheet. Boy, I'm trying to think of some of the things that are exciting. If you do, over here, if there is something that's going to take us to someplace that's has more detail, then I provide the link over the right here. For example, the development tool, I'm going to be relying mostly on Unity, and then some of the third-party vendors kind of in that Unity infrastructure, for example, like the Photon Unity network for networking, but there's links there. But generally, like these links here will take us like for the NLS translations. If I just click there, this will take us straight to the localization where I keep track of some of the well, the details for what kind of NLS, what kind of national languages that I'm going to be working for and shooting for in this game. So that's how this all will work. Intended audience, the prototypes. You can see here I've got the links for where I'm doing that in the WWI Flying Circus. And then a glossary, just starting to build up some things in the glossary here. And some of the different kinds of maneuvers and some of the different kinds of terms that I may introduce in the game. I haven't really decided yet, but it's a good place to start keeping track of those. So that's kind of an introduction into the overall project. And again, a lot of details are available in lots of different places, but this is just kind of the introduction. So some of these descriptions of how the game works in terms of the control systems. I've got screenshots here, largely using sliders and buttons, but it's going to be a horizontal landscape mode game driven by your thumbs. And maybe I'll use some accelerometer work for things, but generally, kind of a handheld kind of game this way, so you can just play it, with your thumbs and just quickly kind of do the different kinds of maneuvers that you need to do. So here's a mock-up of the system menus, and with a slider here and some buttons, starting to work with some graphics people to get this a little bit prettier than it is right now. But again, that's the kind of goal there. And as was defined before too, the WWI Flying Circus is an aerial combat game, but there's no climbing or diving. So it really is a two-dimensional spaced game, 2D game, and it is infinitely wide. So there's no edge to the board. It's going to be in the skybox, and it's infinitely wide. The planes are moving pretty slow, so you'll never get to the edge because of course it's infinite. But it is basically it's a two-dimensional game played without borders, and but then it's mechanically laid on top of a invisible hexagonal grid. And you can see here some of the different maneuvers, the 26 different maneuvers, and then the result of where you will be at the end of those 26 different maneuvers on this hexagonal grid. So there are, there's objects and attributes and states, and there's a link here that will take you through, to basically where the object and its initial states and values there, and the information that I'm going to keep track of these different objects. So again, the details behind everything are most often found on the requirements tab. So the game mechanics, there's three different ways of playing the game. One is going to be an AI. Like I said, I was just working on that, kind of mentally, kind of working on how to do that. But it'd be human against an AI opponent. There'll be human against human with a pass and play. So on the same physical device, you'll be passing from the WWI Flying Circus, you'll be moving that back and forth and passing it to your buddy or across the internet for network play. So I've got the list of all the verbs and actions, the AI. Again, the AI, it's really going to be a lot of invention with that because it's, for the AI, it is, I likened it to writing an AI for rock, paper, scissors. And there really is no heuristic that can help you know, what it is. If you're a computer playing rock, paper, scissors, how do you know what the human's going to do? Because throwing a rock is not any better than throwing paper or scissors. It all depends upon what the other person does. And since WWI Flying Circus is an asynchronous plot, so both will be plotting what they want to do asynchronously, and then it's a simultaneous play, so the resolution is simultaneous in terms of the movement and combat resolution. There is no heuristic that I could write from a mini-max, from an AI point of view, that can tell the computer, this is a better maneuver than that. Other than I've been working on some ideas about capturing all in a database of all the different relative positions, and then what the humans have done in those relative positions historically over time. I can start building up a database, a heuristic based upon that. It's like knowing in rock, paper, scissors that if I do, two rocks in a row, that 40% of the time, better than 1/3 of the time, maybe 40% of the time, the human is thinking, oh, maybe he's going to throw another rock, so I better throw paper. And so keeping that kind of information about how humans move when they're in a relative position and keeping track of that and the statistics, there is a heuristic that I can take advantage of and either throw into a minimax or some kind of other kind of AI calculations. So I can have a player, a computer player that plays a pretty mean game if I have enough information over time. So again, lots of invention with the AI play. And so there's really, in terms of algorithms and mathematics, it's really nothing that's terribly complex. I've been gaming, see the gray hairs, I've been gaming for over 50 years and doing, they're called combat resolution tables, CRTs, and the algorithms involved there. I've created many of them on computer systems over the years and kind of aids and assists to computer games. I could tell you some stories of some famous ones that I worked on that you have never heard of course. But the thing is that some of the algorithms and the mathematics, nothing really exceptional there. The AI, I think, has got some invention and may be needing some help in that environment. But for some of the other things, no, this is business as usual for games. So from the feedback loop point of view, really the game does have this mechanism where I've got the newbie player, the beer boy who needs to start learning how to play the game up to the ace, then the double ace, and then finally to where you're able to retire your pilot and then become a mentor. So I've got this main loop, and really fleshing that out from a social and from a community point of view is going to take a lot of hard work, probably, well, more hard work than the actual mechanics of the game. And that's the good news, or the good side of that. I've got the starting conditions for the objects, player incentives. You'll be playing for prestige points. It's not just good enough to shoot down people. You actually have to behave in a chivalrous way in the air in order to gain more prestige points and move up the tables in terms of prestige. So I've got the mechanism all defined for that in the requirements there. And then death handling, it's kind of interesting. The prompt for death handling was, how do you integrate death into your overall game design so that it's not absolute? Well, my first thought is, well, death is a fairly absolute kind of thing. And really, like I've got my sound bite, my log line, which is fly for honor, glory, and prestige, die and be forgotten. And my goal in this game is that if you've got an ace that is working up the leaderboard with its prestige and maybe has 11 kills, or you're a double ace, you're thinking you're doing pretty good. If you get shot down, that ace dies. There is a golden parachute, so you can save your ace, but that ace is shot down and dies. And the name of that ace, because when you become an ace, you're able to name your pilot. That named ace, that name can never be used again. So if your ace is Joe Cool or Snoopy or Baron Von Red or Rick Tompkins, Jr., that name can never be used again. It's retired, and you can create another pilot, but you have to name it something else. So that's the goal with this game, is that death is a fairly significant thing, and people will be working hard to not get shot down. But again, the game mechanic is not necessarily for kills; it's for prestige, and there's lots of ways of getting prestige other than just killing other pilots. So trying to create a community where it's not just about first-person shooter where they're killing people. So that's going to be interesting to actually build the mechanic so it works. So there's still invention yet in this area. From a game progression point of view, I don't have any really things on the story point of view. It's not an RPG, but I sure would love to build kind of a story up about how you're fighting for your family and for your loved ones back home and for your country. And when you do things that will cause you to lose prestige, you are really hurting the honor of your family name, and you're hurting all these different things. So I need to build up a story there. And so the idea is here. It's not on paper quite yet. It is it's a dogfight, so it's a very linear. There will be replays. So it's like a game of checkers or chess. You set up the board, you play, and then you're done. and then and then the game starts over again. Of course, there'll be memory in terms of your prestige and things like that. You climb up the leaderboards there, but really it's just kind of a short game. There's no levels in terms of a traditional game. The skill progression will be from the newbie up to the the double ace and to the retired aces for the mentoring. Hope to have a game tutorial, of course, and need some assistance in this area. Um, uh, what I want to do is I want to have um, two different ways to have the tutorial. One is kind of textbook reading, which is of course not so exciting, so that's where I need some help with that. And then also too, the trainer play, and then that's with the AI, and with the AI, I need that assistance. So this game hopefully will take you all the way from being a beer boy, which is just the newbie, um, all the way up then through to the ace and double ace, and then off into mentoring. So I've got some ideas, tournaments and mentoring requirements, but those are indeed stretch goals, ones that I hope to get to. Maybe not in this first release for Christmas, but something I can build up over time. And of course, that gives me, as the players get better, and then I have some time to actually implement these kinds of extra ideas. From a project planning point of view, it's going to be very agile-ish. I mean, I'm classically trained with waterfall and the V model. In fact, I was a systems engineer for a good 6-7 years for the large multinational corporation. But this is definitely fits with agile. I mean, I love agile because I love chewing off and building things that are actually working, delivering value to me, value to to my customers and all that. And that's how I put together the prototype. Is you build to say, okay, let me get this working because I know this is going to be useful and valuable for the game. And so I've defined epics, I've defined user stories. Of course, more detail will be coming as I progress through this. As you know, got the list of all the requirements here. So the user stories can be very simple, and of course they will be simple. Just picture them being on a 3x5 card, but they will reference the requirements that I need to implement for that. And one of the things about the requirements too, this is not like it's a computer system that's going to control the space shuttle, or a computer system that's going to be doing a heart-lung machine. These requirements are malleable, and like I say here, prone to change. So they're really guidelines. These are ideas that I have, but as I'm implementing, I'm very much going to take all the liberty of just changing the requirements and as I see fit for what I'm doing here. I'm going to keep the epics and then the user stories sorted in priority order. And then communications, it's going to be a relatively small team, handful of people. So we're going to use Discord for Galactic Center, where we can communicate about different things happening and questions and queries there. I want to have a weekly scrum-like kind of meeting. They'll be run by my producer, Chris. And then the everything else is going to be this living document, Galactic Center, and we're going to use a Google Drive for keeping all the different assets. So as for example, the pipeline for the 3D models, and then the rigging, and then the animations, and then all those the progress, then getting that FBX file into the Unity. That all is going to be kept in a Google Drive, and then I will copy from there into the Unity environment and drive the game then from that, import those assets into the Unity there. So that's kind of the Galactic Center for for the pipeline of information. Okay, and the team you can see here, Professor Penny is the capstone advisor. Got Chris as the producer. I'm going to be the designer, and of course the chief cook and bottle washer programmer. Got Tracy Brownell. She's working on the 3D models for the airplanes. Right now, she's got a pretty good looking Fokker D7 there. No color, no flashy colors and things like that, but looking pretty good. So I've given her some technical feedback on some of that nature. And then working with Ian Farley of Praetorian Games, he's going to do the rigging for these aircraft and then the animation. And the goal is just to do the rigging once for all. We're working towards having 6 airplane models, and then do the animations so that the 26 different maneuvers is just one set of animations that can be applied to that rigging. And then he would export that FBX, and then I import in the Unity, and then actually able to do the animations for the different maneuvers. That's the goal. And we just had a meeting just yesterday, in fact, that I called for. And what I wanted to do, instead of waiting to the end to see this all work, I just want the the crude 3D model that Tracy has put together, and then sent it to Ian so he can do a crude rigging for it, and then a crude animation. And in the animation, maybe the propeller can spin and the plane moves 200 meters forward in space, or 200 meters, and then turns 60 degrees to the port side. Simple kind of animations, so that then I can take that FBX, import it into Unity, and just make sure that we've greased the skids for this. So again, very agile kind of fashion, grease the skids, and then once we then kind of understand our roles in this whole end-to-end pipeline of activities, then we can start cranking out some better and faster kind of process. But till that really is greased, I'm still concerned about the whole overall process. So anyway, that's work in progress. Still need arts and graphics. Started to talk with Ian on that. He's going to mock up some things for the main menu. So I might go that route. I was trying to find some other resources in Orbis and Full Sail. Haven't quite found them yet, but that's Ian's a good person to work with there. Sound special effects, maybe WeStar, maybe some other place, I don't quite know. And then I would love to find somebody that could focus on testing. If not, for sure, I will do these things as necessary, but sure would love to find some other people, because art is not my primary thing. Music is not my primary thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm a tester, so that's something that I definitely could do. All right, so there's a methodology for testing. There could be ad hoc testing, of course, inside of the Unity's built-in emulator. I want to really take advantage of Unity's test runner and to build up a comprehensive regression testing. I really love the idea of, okay, I've made a whole bunch of changes and I've refactored some things, and boy, I sure would love to press PF5 and have this whole thing do a regression test. So I've reached out to a Professor Moronowski. He works with Professor Penny, and he does some work with Unity, and I couldn't get the portion of the test runner that I want to get working. I couldn't get that working in Unity. Something up here or something in all the different tutorials. And anyway, I would love to sit down with somebody and get that working. So that's work in progress there. After that, I've got the individual device tests. In fact, I've got friends who just give me old iPhones, and so I've got stacks and stacks of iPhones and old Android phones here. So I'll be doing lots of different kinds of device tests there as much as I can. Of course, not every day because it's very time consuming, but right before any kind of major delivery or release is doing that. And then beta testing. I've already got a Google Android development ID that I created years ago. I've distributed a number of small applications, but I want to get there, and then also using Apple's test flight and being able to distribute to friends and family and other people who've signed up for beta programs, so I can have a wider view of testing going on there. So the project plan there, I've got that high level plan, which is on the project plan here, the epic stories, which are coming below, and then the sprints will be inside of each one of those. And just to give you a little hint here for the sprints, Professor Penny likes this task sheet. So this was an Excel sheet. I imported it into Google Documents. Again, Galactic Center, keeping everything here. And so then as I am working on different milestones and tasks, I'll keep track of them here. And so that he can keep track of the weekly progress that's going on there. So that's kind of the process there. So for this was a wonderful exercise, kind of these development modules, and really is very, I would call it, user story kind of based. And so just by renaming things and adding a little headings on here. So this column here is going to be the epics, the major big things that I need to get done. And then as I progress, I'll be creating then the user stories, and really have not really fleshed these out that much, but just kind of a hint. I've got this idea of, oh yeah, I'm going to have a tutorial for my beer boys. And but then, what is that going to be involved? Well, I want to be able to first just have them maneuvering and flying through the floating hoops. So almost every flight simulator that you have, one of the first things they do is they kind of have you flying through different floating hoops, and so that you can kind of maneuver your craft through the air. Same thing. I want to do that with WWI Flying Circus. So flying through loops. And then I've got two different versions, two different strengths of the AI, and to have that running. So yeah, but I'll flesh this out with better user stories. I mean, not that much better, but more information, better user stories, so I can try to accomplish these things in week-long sprints. So that's the concept. So we'll be taking epics, creating the user stories, and then transferring them over to the task sheet so that Professor Penny can see this and recognize, saying, nodding north and south, I understand what he's doing, or east and west and saying, nah, that's wrong, that's not going to work. So that's indeed the goal with that. So then for requirements, yeah, the requirements tab. So that's pretty simple there. So I did some work with creating some personas. I created an Emma persona and a Gunter persona. So Emma is a 15-year-old female with all these characteristics. And then Gunter is a 52-year-old male in Austria. So because the target market audience for this is largely, the first tier is countries where World War I was not a cool thing, but World War I impacted them. And of course, it's most of the European countries, and then Americans and Canadians. And so Gunter is definitely in that target market audience there. So giving these personas, then I created some swim lanes. And let me zoom in here a little bit. So one is for the network play. And what I did with this is you got the player A, and this is the Photon Unity Network. So it's a third-party tool for allowing networking. So they have some real-time networking, but they also have lobbies and rooms where you can do the asynchronous kind of networking. And it's the asynchronous networking that I'm going to take advantage of with the Photon Unity Network, or the PUN tool. And so this is just a kind of a flow chart of swim lane. And you got player A, the Photon lobby, but that would be the lobby as is being executed on your device, right? Not the other person's device. And then below this is the internet. And below that would be another lobby on the other guy's device, and then the other player. I decided not to include these in the swim lane because it really is just a mirror of all the different activities. And so I could copy and paste, but really it's just more efficient, I think, just to talk about here where creating these rooms, and there is communication, of course, that's going on underneath this Photon Unity Network into the internet, to the other side, but these communications are not represented in this flowchart. I'm not going to take you through the details here, but basically it's they got the human making different kinds of selections and actions. You've got the lobby that's also in the room, also making choices, and from a programmatic point of view, choices. And of course, there's the interactions that are going on there. The next one is this use case where you've got the pass and play. So you're playing World War I Flying Circus on one device, and you're passing it to your buddy, or in this case, Gunter is passing it to his daughter over in in kind of the use case scenario over here. But this, I'm not going to go through again all the details, but it highlights the beautiful concept of this four tuple. So in World War I Flying Circus, because it is asynchronously plotted and then simultaneous played, it enables a situation where when you pass the device after you get started, when you pass the device to, for this example, this is player A over here, they get to play a turn. Then they get to, we show them the maneuvers, and then they get to plot a turn, and then they get to play that turn, and then show them the maneuvers again, and they get to plot for another turn. So they're actually doing 4 activities. They're doing 2 plays, 2 plots over the course of 3 different turns. So turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. And anyway, I think it's really ingenious. So this 4 tuple is every time you pass it, it's amazing that you pass the device and then you're able to work with, again, you do 4 different maneuvers, 2 passes, 2 plays over the course of 3 different turns. And so this kind of shows the mechanism of how that works internally from an application point of view and from a human point of view. Then the other is if you're playing against the AI, so I created another one here. And so now the other player is being simulated by an AI mechanism in WWI Flying Circus. And so you'll do the plot, and then very quickly using the AI, and again, not cheating. So I don't want to have WWI Flying Circus say peeking at what the other airplane, what the human actually plotted, and then cheating to say, oh, I know where they're going to be, and therefore I can sneak up behind them. I'm not going to do that, of course. But it's immediately after receiving that plot, WWI Flying Circus can plot then for that turn and give that feedback directly to the user, and then show that maneuver to the user. And so it is basically, it's as quick as they can do their plotting and playing and plotting and playing. They'll be able to play against the AI. So there's really no opportunity for the 4 tuple. It's just basically turn-based back and forth because the computer player is playing as fast as it can. So that is what I wanted to take you through. So again, the task sheet, the requirements, and so we have this project development plan here, and back to here. This is kind of this big project plan. So it's basically the goal here is to use the mechanism, the construct as created by Full Sail University for the Mobile Gaming Masters, but inside of there then to be very agile and to work on things, to kind of make proof of concepts, and then turn those proof of concepts into product, into actual deliverables using Agile and Scrum. So, with that, I'm going to stop my sharing and say thank you very much for listening through. This is kind of a long and verbose, let's say, treatment about the project, but there's a lot of different things going on. So I really wanted to kind of help you get a feel for that. So if you have any questions, right, cards and letters to me. If you have any errors of omission, right, that's often the thing that is really forgotten when you review a document. So you say like, oh yeah, that's good or that's bad, but what is often forgotten are the errors of omission. And so really, am I missing something that you would feel would be critical, like a job role or something in terms of the development methodology or the different epics that I've described there? If there are things that are missing that I should really be thinking about, that's what I want to hear about. So again, cards and letters, let me know, and I'm looking for that critical review. I'm looking for your fingerprints all over this document. And again, it's a living document. So it's never too early or too late or too wrong to say, ooh, maybe I should have told you a little while ago, but boy, if you could do this, that would really help out if you could start thinking about that. So that's the kind of thing that I want to hear. So with that, thank you very much and have a great day.